Tangi Valley at the time was the most dangerous place in all of Afghanistan, and it was the valley in which Extortion 17 was shot down just a year prior. The mission that night was a hostage rescue mission. So to us, that is a no-fail mission. Our objective, our goal is to bring back an American hostage alive.
In this episode of Medic of Honor, we are covering the life and legend of Navy SEAL Master Chief and Medal of Honor recipient Edward Byers. Edward C. Byers Jr. was born on August 4th, 1979 in Toledo, Ohio, and was raised in the close-knit community of Grand Rapids, Ohio. He grew up in a family with a strong tradition of service. His father was a World War II Navy veteran, and although he didn't talk about his service very much, there was a presence that shaped Byers' understanding of duty long before he ever wore the uniform himself. As a young man, Byers has described being drawn to military service while watching U.S. forces deploy overseas on television. This provided him with an early awareness of a world much larger than his hometown, and of the role service members play in it. Personally, I did the same thing in 9/11 and later in the Shock and Awe campaign of 2003. In his youth, Byers was an active and outdoors-oriented kid. He was involved in Boy Scouts, earning his rank of First Class Scout, where he was introduced to responsibility, teamwork, and practical skills. At Otsego High School, he played varsity soccer, where he learned the value of conditioning, persistence, and teamwork, qualities that would quietly prepare him for the demands ahead. But he had grander aspirations. Through books and movies, Byers had been introduced to the elite world of the United States Navy SEALs.
We're a SEAL team. We're here to get you out.
I believe you.
Byers enlisted in the United States Navy in September of 1998, entering service with a clear goal already forming in the background. He trained as a hospital corpsman because there was no direct line to NSW yet, thus beginning a career on the medical side of warfare.
That's goddamn right.
By 2000, Byers had deployed with the 26th Marine Expeditionary Unit on the USS Austin in the Mediterranean, an early operational experience that coincided with a pivotal moment in the United States Navy, the bombing of the USS Cole.
This is CNN breaking news.
U.S. Navy officials in Bahrain today said suspected suicide bombers
badly damaged in a terrorist attack in Yemen.
American sailors were killed, injured, missing.
At the time, it might have felt like an isolated tragedy. In hindsight, it was a warning, a precursor, and a foreshadowing of conflicts that would define the next 2 decades of American warfare. Byers volunteered for BUDS in 2002 with Class 242.
I wonder how long it will last. Maybe it'll last all week. Maybe it'll last all month. Maybe it never stops.
One of the most demanding military selection courses on the planet. BUDS, along with most other soft courses, isn't just about how fast you can swim or how much weight you can lift. It's about whether you can keep functioning when your body is failing. There's cold water, sleep deprivation, constant pressure. Whether it's BUDS or SWIC or SF, Ranger, any of the soft selection courses, it's just pure chaos to see if your body and, really more importantly, your mind can keep moving and pushing forward. After graduation, and as an HM, Byers was a shoo-in for Special Operations Combat Medic or SOCOM training. SOCOM isn't the same as corpsman training though, because corpsmen have so much variability within the Navy. You might have a corpsman that is a PT tech or works in a lab or works with a Marine unit. SOCOM is much more direct. It's about being the most capable medical person possible in an austere environment. They're teaching airway management, hemorrhage control, prolonged field care, preventative care, making decisions when there isn't evacuation coming. Their goal is to make a medic that can succeed stateside in an OR or overseas in a tent. Byers was initially assigned to SEAL Team 2 in May of 2004. I mean, what a time to show up to the SEAL teams. NSW was in full swing in the early 2000s, and Byers was about to get his fair share of the action. I'm sure it felt like a constant rinse cycle, just train and deploy, and train and deploy, and train and deploy, and rinse and repeat. Byers deployed 11 times in all. That kind of continuous grind can wear down guys, especially when you look at all the compounding factors. During one of his deployments, Byers lost a close SEAL brother. SO2 Clark Schwedler was killed April 6, 2007 in Anbar province, Iraq.
And Clark was one of my very close friends and teammates. And that drove the catalyst for me wanting to try out for Naval Special Warfare Development Group, which is commonly referred to as SEAL Team 6.
Now, I know there's endless information about Devgru these days, but since I covered Mech v. SOG, and since my channel has those that follow the science side more than the military side, I'm going to cover what makes Devgru even more elite than the Navy SEAL teams. Naval Special Warfare Development Group is not just another SEAL team, and it's not simply a unit for the strongest or fastest operators. Devgru was developed and exists to solve the hardest national mission sets. It's a close-knit group of fighters that have established themselves at the team level already and have shown the ability to take on more. Selection into Devgru happens through Green Team. And Green Team is also a unique process because it's not BUDS, it's not SQT, it's not Ranger School, it's not even a selection course really in the traditional sense. Green Team evaluates experienced operators.
But it's like the guys that show up for that class, they take, I would consider it the top 5% of team guys in the right age and prime in your group. And you show up, and out of that top 5%, 70% get cut.
Questions that the evaluators need to look at are, can you operate independently? Can you adapt when the plan collapses? Can you make the right decision with incomplete information? And can you execute at the highest level? There's no checklist for you to train for, no guaranteed path, no explanation if you fail. Just go back to your team. Thank you for coming. Have a nice day.
You never know how you're doing. You see guys that are better than you getting dropped and cut. And it's not only mental, physical, decision-making. You just never know where you sit. And like, am I going to make it? Am I not? And two, it's a huge chance of failure. Because if you're going to be one of those guys that gets cut out of Green Team and selection, and you come back to like, oh, that guy got dropped.
It's less about suffering and more about, can your brothers rely on you when the stakes are impossibly high? Byers made it through and was assigned to Blue Squadron. A little over 1 year after the devastating loss of Gold Squadron's 2 Troop on Extortion 17, Byers had been brought in to stand up the unit that would take up the reins of those lost men. It wasn't long until America's elite hostage rescue team would be called upon again. Dr. Dilip Joseph, an American aid worker, had been abducted just days earlier by Taliban fighters in eastern Afghanistan. Intelligence indicated that he could be moved at any moment. Waiting was not an option. The decision was made to launch a rescue. The target was a small compound tucked away against the bottom of the mountainside in the Karga district of Logman province. Isolated, minimal lighting, no easy approaches, and inside were armed guards, and somewhere in all of that mess was an American hostage. The rescue force launched with approval from the highest levels of command. When you have a time-sensitive mission like this, speed is often prioritized over cover, and surprise over safety. The troop infilled on foot for nearly 4 hours, and that's carrying tools of the trade and everything they might need on target, all across unimproved trails and steep terrain while staying completely undetected. The terrain was so bad, the SEALs eventually found themselves using their own ladders to descend down nearly vertical sections of the mountain. As they closed within 25 meters, the element of surprise broke. A guard detected movement. The point man for Echo Team, which was Edward Byers' contingent, was named Nick Check. When he realized they had been detected, he engaged and sprinted towards the doorway. Byers was right behind him. The door, if you will, wasn't a door at all. It was just 6 layers of heavy wool blankets fastened to the walls and ceiling. This is one of those moments that you never expect. This is also why Devgru training is so complex and unpredictable. This kind of immediate problem solving requires a trained and determined mind. Check pushed his way in, and Byers followed. As Nick pushed through, he was immediately met with AK-47 fire. But Byers didn't hesitate. His training came through. Fully aware of the threat inside, he forced his way into the room and immediately engaged an armed guard. In the chaos, another adult male moved towards the corner. Byers couldn't tell if this man was a hostage or another hostile, so he tackled him. Byers controlled the man with a single hand.
Let's make this fair.
While using the other to adjust his night vision. The clarity that takes to pin down a man while you carefully adjust your high-tech night vision device. Like, hold on there, sir. Oh, you are a bad guy. Okay, great. Once he confirmed the individual was a hostile, he eliminated the threat. Inside the room, gunfire continued. Team members were pouring in and shouting to the hostage to identify himself. Then Byers heard it. An American voice. Without hesitation, he launched himself across the room, throwing his body over Dr. Joseph, using himself as a shield as rounds continued to pass through the space. Pinned behind the hostage was another enemy fighter. Byers kept his body over Dr. Joseph while physically restraining the fighter by the throat, holding him in place long enough for a teammate to fire a precision shot and neutralize the final threat. And then the room went quiet. Byers spoke calmly to Dr. Joseph, confirmed he could move himself, and helped escort him out of the compound to the extraction point. Only then, when he knew that the hostage was secure, did Byers return to his other role as the medic. It was then that Byers was able to assess his fellow assaulter, who had entered the room just before him. His fellow medics and the PJs on the ground had already started to work on Nick. During the flight to Bagram Airfield, Chief Byers and the pararescue medics rendered aid and performed CPR on the wounded assaulter for roughly 40 minutes. 40 minutes. Despite every effort, Petty Officer First Class Nick Check did not survive due to a fatal gunshot wound to the head.
Nick was embodied the essence of what it is to be an American hero. He will forever be remembered in the pages of history for the sacrifices that he made.
For Chief Byers' actions that night, his decisiveness, his physical courage, his willingness to place himself between an American hostage and incoming fire, he was awarded the Medal of Honor. Since leaving active operational roles, Byers has remained deeply involved in initiatives that support wounded warriors, mental health and recovery, and long-term reintegration after trauma. As an entrepreneur, he founded the Minerva 6 Institute, which has a motto of strength through humility. And I think that says a whole lot about who he is as a person. He also is an honorary board member of the Navy SEAL Foundation. This reflects something important about the special operations community. The mission doesn't end when the deployment does. Recovery is part of readiness, and healing is part of strength. And that philosophy, born from combat medicine and team culture, has quietly influenced broader approaches to trauma care, rehabilitation, and resilience across military and civilian medicine alike. And I think we can see more of it now than we ever have before. And it's because of that mission of recovery that I'm wearing this jersey today. Trust me, I don't wear anything with a bone frog on it for no reason, but apparently they were fresh out of the bone rat version, so here we are. But jokes aside, this jersey represents something bigger, something that doesn't get enough airtime once the cameras turn off. And I covered the Green Beret Foundation in my last Medic of Honor episode, so today it's about the Navy SEAL Foundation. The Navy SEAL Foundation exists for the long haul, not just during war, not just after a funeral, but years later, when injuries linger, families carry the weight, kids grow up, and life keeps moving. Personally, the Navy SEAL Foundation has helped my family. 2 months after I medically retired, my son was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. The Navy SEAL Foundation helped us during this time as we experienced a move to a new city, found the right support that we needed, and supported me as I returned to school. So on top of educational support, they support health, both physical and mental. They support the families of operators. They support recovery. Edward Byers' continued involvement reflects a broader truth about special operation that often gets lost in the headlines. This has never been about individual heroism. It's about teams. It's about community. It's about showing up for each other long after the mission is over. That's why moments like the annual Stars and Stripes Navy SEAL vs. Green Beret lacrosse game and jersey tributes like this matter. Not because of branding, not because it might look cool on TV, but because it carries names, stories, and sacrifice into spaces where they might otherwise fade into background noise. And it reminds the people watching, maybe for the first time, that these aren't abstract war stories. They're real lives. They're families. They're Americans. And it doesn't hurt that the Navy is up 2-0 so far in the series. Step it up. One team, one fight, right? A portion of every purchase goes to the Navy SEAL Foundation and its initiatives. Edward Byers' Medal of Honor citation just captures one mission. A single night where skill, courage, and selflessness converged under impossible pressure. This is the kind of service that deserves to be elevated. Remembering them isn't about looking backwards, it's about recognizing the standard that they set and carrying it forward. On that note, I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate you guys watching. I am raising funds for TBI research and for the Navy SEAL Foundation to support NSW veterans who are transitioning out of the military. Here is the QR code if you are watching this on TV or a tablet. I also have the link down below in the description. Every donation counts, so if you feel motivated to do so, I greatly appreciate your support. If you are interested in having me cover more medics like this, let me know in the comments below, and subscribe so you can follow more military medicine innovation and history. That's all I got for you guys today. Stay safe, stay ready. I'll see you on the next one.